Welcome, everyone. I'm Debbie Christofferson, and I'm going to be speaking with you today about Mastermind Your Cybersecurity Career for Success, creating a 5-step security plan. I'll go back and forth a little bit on my slides. Are you good? And can you see me so that I can read the chat box? Let me see. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this, and I have slides. For myself, our bios are out there, but I've been in the field a long time, since mostly cybersecurity as we know it today exists, post-mainframe days in the distributed world and ongoing. So I started my security way back then, and I've evolved a lot from the corporate world out into being an entrepreneur and managing my own life and my own business and career. So why security and why technology? There's a slide that was put up on LinkedIn that makes jokes about experience required or not, and if it's an entry level, and how do you get into the field. And the joke is entry level jobs are harder than swimming sharks and having kids, because even though you're trying to enter the field, it's not always as easy as what it sounds and what it looks. However, to enter the field, why security and why technology? You can earn a really good living, no matter who you are. You can continue to grow. There's all kinds of opportunities in the field. There's diversity of opportunities and roles across industry sectors, states, countries, the world. So there isn't just a job of what people think this career and field is, including the different kind of places that you would work doing this job. Generally, we serve big business, but even in the small business world, some of the other companies that might be entrepreneurs or consulting organizations support smaller businesses. There's gaps in security for supply versus demand. This is why we hear about, well, I can't get in. You say you need people, but I can't get hired. And of course, during some of the shutdown, all fields have been impacted. And in general, if you pull up on LinkedIn or in job fields, you will see that there are a lot of openings in information security, but where are they and what does that mean? It offers a fun, passion, and continuous growth if you find the right place for you. And so what does that mean for you? There's a lot of opportunities for why you should get in the field, but you want to like your job too. So basically, for me, what I tell people, and what most people who have been in the field a long time are going to tell you too, it's not going to be any different for me, is 1, network. You need a network. I'm going to go into this. 2, you do have to have skills. Skills count. And you can get skills aside from having a job in the industry, and you have transferable skills and you can learn skills. 3, experience, and experience counts. And I'm going to go into that more for you too. You do need experience. It's really hard to come out of even college and not have some experience, like as an intern, and get hired, but you can, but you need experience, and the sooner is better. You want to showcase yourself. This matters in how other people see you. This picture I have on here is a conference of people networking and learning skills and continuous learning. So you're always going to be learning in this field, and this field changes all of the time. Technology changes so fast. You can come back to work in a year at some place you worked and things will have changed. They'll have a whole different set of tools. They'll have different things that you're working on. Take the last year with the virtual workforce, what we all have to learn. So next, I am going to go to the slide on the hunt. I'm putting this in between talking about what these 5 steps are. The hunt is you looking, and it's the employer looking, or whoever's looking to hire you. Even as a consultant or an independent entrepreneur, you work for somebody. You might work for yourself, but you still work for somebody. As in, I'm a consultant and I get interviewed, or people know me. For any job that you have to be a known quantity, and you have to have somebody want the skills that you have and know who you are. So the hunt is what's in it for me. The me is you. What do you want when you go looking for a job? Job security, career opportunities, pay, including benefits. You want a good work environment, or at least that's what you hope for. You want a good manager. Some people call it your boss. I read this morning somebody asking about their first job, and they think they have a bad boss, and what should they do about that? Well, anyway, you want a good manager and boss, and somebody that might think somebody's a bad boss. It can go 2 ways, but you want a job you like, doing work that you really enjoy. And are there any red flags that you see when you're out in this job hunt? Because sometimes a company may or may not be desirable to work for, or it might be somebody that works there. And then people will ignore red flags because they'll say, oh, I can work with anybody or anything. And you might find that maybe you can't. Maybe that was your little red flag for yourself. So then when you go over to them, who is them? Now, notice I have the selfie stick up because when people go job hunting, they tend to think in terms of themselves more than what the people want that are hiring, especially if you're moving into a different field or you are changing jobs or your entry level or anywhere really in your career. It isn't about you. When somebody hires, they care about them and what they want. They're looking for what they want in the job. That is their primary mode when people are interviewing you. When you get brought in at any stage of the interview process, you won't make it to the next stage if you don't get past the first stage. So they're not looking at your selfie stick for you. They're looking at what they want. So you, if you're job hunting, you want to understand what their primary needs are of their job. They're going to know it. So, and that's what they're going to be looking for. What are the primary needs they need to fill in that job? And even if it lists 100%, there's key things in there that they probably want. And will you be able to do that job? Do you have the skills to do that job? Maybe not 100%, but can you do that job? How do you fit their culture? Will they be happy if they hire you? Not will you be happy if you get hired? Now, they want you to be happy, but are they going to be happy if they hire you 30 days in, 90 days in, a year in? Will you be a good hire for them? It's expensive to hire, and it's expensive for us to leave jobs too. So when you think about the job hunt in cybersecurity, especially when I'm on a lot of boards for people that ask for advice to get into this field or to transition, I think some of the people don't really get this, and they may lack research to do this. And in leaving the corporate world for myself, I found that a lot of people don't always know how to go searching when they've had the same company for years and years. When you go outside, how do you position yourself? So you need to look at this too. What's in it for them? How do you fit? And it isn't just going to be your persona of who you see yourself as. So network. You need to network. I don't think a lot of people, particularly coming fresh out of college, are networked. They might not see the importance of this. My opinion is they don't see the importance of this. And I think probably when you go to school full-time, you're really busy. And when you work full-time, you're really busy. But if you don't network when you need it, you're going to have a lot harder time when you don't need it. So how do you network? You join industry groups where the professionals live, because that's where they are from all different companies. They hold current security roles in this profession that we're talking about, cybersecurity. They work across the industry. This includes the speakers and sponsors, by the way. And if you want to talk to the speakers and sponsors that are there too, they're in our industry too, and they hire and they work with people that hire. And if you're networking, you probably want to get there early to meet those people. And believe me, it's worth it. And to sit up front, not in the back. So a lot of IT people and security people, they line in and line the back from the back to the front, and people almost rather have their teeth pulled to sit up front. But if you're up front, you will listen. There are chapters that are not nonprofits, not for profits. ISSA, I belonged to ISSA for a long time. I belong to several of these. ISC Squared is a certification body, but we belong to it, and they have chapters. ISACA, OWASP is for developers and security. CSA is a Cloud Security Alliance. ASIS is more on industrial security, physical security, some of the background investigations, more than this, but there's other aspect, law enforcement to ASIS than just cybersecurity, but they use it too. All of those things connected to the network. And when you do background investigations and other things that you do, executive protection. There's also meetups and user groups that can be product or topic specific in our industry. There's anything that you want that you can go network. I tell you in networking to participate actively. Join a chapter board. There's always room for newcomers. And also in some of the groups that I belong to where people are asking for advice or mentoring or offering it for getting into our field. Some people don't believe networking matters or as much as that it does. And also it said that since we're in a virtual shutdown, that these groups aren't doing anything. Well, that's not true. They may be more dormant than some of them because there is not physical activity, but they're not dormant. People still work in the field. People are still getting out here and doing things. So you don't need to sit back and wait till things start happening again to make things happen for you. So get there early and meet the organizers and the speakers. And if you join these, and I advise that you do, and you can pick the ones that work for you or not and come and go and try them. Some of them are free, some of them aren't free. A lot more things are free during this virtual outage. And I didn't put the privacy organization on there for chapters too. They call them knowledge nets, but the International Association for Privacy Professionals, that's another organization. Sorry, I'll add that to my slides that will be available. Be authentic and not looking for a deal from your neighbor that you're sitting next to or you come up to meet based on where they work and what they do. I've seen this plenty coming from the corporate world, and when people find out you're a consultant, but I'm in the field too, and also people don't always appreciate that because they have the Google name on their business card or Amazon that now you're going to be buddied up to and famous, and then when they don't work there anymore, all of a sudden they don't matter at all to you. So if you're one of the people that look and hunt like that, that's not a good way to network, and people know it. You need to be authentic if you really want to build relationships and build a good network. You don't have to work the room. You just can work at one person at a time for yourself and those other people. Not what's in it for you, but build your network and be authentic. So, and then the other thing in your network is, whether you have it or not, what will people say if they get a call to ask about you? Because I've been interviewed for consulting roles where people will ask me, what would Rich Owen say about you? I'll just use that as a name in my network. Do you know him? And I go, yes, I do know him. And they say, well, that's good because I already called him and asked him about you. So on the network today, there's a lot of people out there that can give inputs on you, whether or not you know they know you. So keep that in mind. And you want to network, and you want to create this network before you need it. So let's go back here and keep in mind my slides are going to be available. I'm not up on Slack, so Doreen, I can't share the slides in Slack here. So I'm sorry, I'm not up on Slack right now. The slides will be available if you're not able to see them here. That doesn't help you in the moment, but let's go on to skills. Your skills. What is the marker for where you are in your skills? And what are the skills that we talk about when we're looking at this? And this doesn't matter if this is cybersecurity or if it's another field. You can look at the job descriptions for what you're looking for and see what they're asking for skills. And if you don't really know what position you're interested in, you can look at what those positions might be, a various set of them out there. Go to LinkedIn and put in, CISO for corporate information security officer, or put in security analyst, cybersecurity analyst, and see what pulls up. Cloud application security person, and it'll pull them up and you can tell. So soft skills are important. Non-technical and interpersonal skills. Communication in email or in other bodies, or when you're out at these networking events, are you able to articulate yourself? These include speaking, writing, listening, time management, working with others. Can you influence people if you need to? Do you collaborate with others? So there's a lot of soft skills that are non-technical and interpersonal, and they matter in the workplace a lot. And if you don't have them, it probably is detrimental to you. There seems to be a lot of focus on hard skills in our space, on technical skills, but the soft skills still matter, and they can make a difference in you getting hired too, because if you don't have those kind of skills, you probably might not be able to sell yourself, and you have to be able to sell yourself in any context. So your hard skills are your certifications. What is your education? Somebody this morning on one of the women in security groups asked, does it make a difference having an AA degree versus a bachelor's degree? So, and it does matter if you have one or the other, but really some of these other things matter more when we go into them, for what your experience is, for instance. So it does matter. A bachelor's degree is going to be more valuable in the field than a AA degree, but it doesn't lessen the value of an AA degree or some other kind of degree or education that you have. Technical skills and experience are also considered hard skills. And in this field, generally you're expected to have some technical competence, because I don't really know how you're going to execute in the job if you don't. I see people go look a lot at certifications, and I'm going to talk to that in just a minute. They don't seem to be able to really narrow in on what that means and what they should be doing for their certification. And in cybersecurity general, for instance, we're not going to be looking for an A+ certification. People might tell you that's a good place to go get your feet wet. If you don't know anything about IT and PC and stuff, the background on technology, and you do need to know, but those are not going to get you the jobs in themselves. It's just not sufficient in where we are. It might be for a technician at a desktop level or some other things where you get your feet wet. So I'm just going to tell you that the certifications matter, but some of the ones that people tell us to get are not, they may help you get hired, and all of these will help you get hired, but these are just examples. So for you want to, in your skills, identify focus areas. What is your passion? What are the growth areas in the field? Because this matters too. Although if there's gaps in the field, it might not matter the growth areas, because everybody wants the hot areas. I mean, when certain technologies come along and you interview interns or other people, especially kind of like what's considered the cream of the crop on the graduates, they'll tell you, I want this and I want that. I'm only going to work in this area or that area. Well, maybe they are, but maybe you're limiting yourself. Maybe you'll have more opportunities if you open it broader, especially if you're trying to get into the field. So you do want to understand where the growth areas are in the field, because it might put you a step above. For instance, it's certainly not new, but cloud's been around quite a while, but the cloud area has grown a lot. The pandemic has caused us to focus more on remote access and securing what that looks like for the different organizations and the capacity and the demand to support that. Those are examples of growth areas too that probably aren't going to go away. Automation, AI, there's all kinds of them. So there's growth areas in any field that you want to look at, unless it's a dying field and there still may be demand. And dying fields can get you in the door somewhere too, by the way. It doesn't make it less. You don't have to have the hottest and the greatest. But if you want to sharpen your skills, this is what you need to look at, these different options. Gap areas, areas that might not have enough skills in them. And where are the industries and the positions that have the most demand? You might work in an area, when I get asked and people ask about how can I get this job for this pay, it's probably not the right question to ask. So where do you live? Do they have those opportunities? And it is remote working these days, but it isn't every job working remotely these days. And I don't know if it ever will be every job. And if you look at the percentage of the people that are working remotely now, it is not everybody. I don't even know if it's half, and it might be some mix going forward as to what that means. So there may be more opportunities for you to get hired like that you might in another. In the other hand, if you're in a position where you want to do that and you can't, maybe you look to build up your reputation or where you are so that you have more opportunities to do that. So there are more opportunities, but they're still not going to be 100%. So you may have geographic boundaries too for where data is. Anyway, you understand that for the industries and positions that are most in demand. Like healthcare is a big growing segment in the United States right now, and it has a lot of security focus on it, and that's because of compliance. Regulatory requirements are driving it. You would think everybody would naturally want to protect all that data, but it costs a lot of money to protect that data, and if you've had your data breached, which most of us have, it's come from big companies. It's come out of healthcare. It might come out of a background check. It could come out of anywhere. So you look at those and see what works for you. Define your boundaries that you need geographically, where you want to work, if you're limited or not, whether or not it's remote access. Are there days and times that you have availability? You might be able to get on a different shift opportunities or someplace else that someone else doesn't want. but you might have little ones at home where you don't have those opportunities, or children in school, or something else you're doing that gives you limitations around your boundaries. So define those for yourself up front so that you know those. And then who is hiring in your job search area? Because not everybody will be. There'll be downturns in some places. And as I mentioned, security has ramped up some in healthcare. And then look to match your current skills to the desired position. What is the desired position? And look at what you think that means for what the skills are. For instance, project management is a general skill set. It's not general, it's specific. You can be certified in project management too, but that's something that's transferable. So a lot of your skills are going to be transferable. So you want to match your current skills to what the desired position is. And they don't have to match 100, but you'd be surprised how much they do match. And then look up your positions of interest. And as I said, you know, there's a lot of jobs just on LinkedIn. There's a lot of jobs in a lot of job boards posts. Just put in your generic search terms and look for them if you don't really know what they are. Other than asking people out of the blue, like, where do I start? Where do I get started? Do some basic research yourself. And if you're looking to transition or move in your own field too, you can look up these positions of interest and see what they take. You can also ask others about what they do, because they may share it with you. But when people ask, can you meet with me and talk about what it is that you do all day? Well, they might meet with you. And in the early days when we could get out and socialize more, they might meet over coffee with you, depending on what it is. But a lot of people are really busy. So try to be cognizant when you're asking for time from people as to what you need and what you really are asking for, and do some of the work yourself before you go that route. So next, I'm just going to come back a minute to this thing, since some people, I am sharing my slide, but I'm not sure that you can all see it. So let's go on to the next slide. And again, I'm going to tell you that I don't think there's very many people. They may disagree with some of my details in the field, but they're not really going to be significantly different, because these are the things that you need to do. They're the things you need to do in this field to move, to grow, and to get a job. So I'm going to go to certifications now, because I see, first of all, some grant funding funds certifications, and there'll be scholarships that offer certifications. And there are so many certifications in the field, and it can be overwhelming, especially if you come in from the outside and you don't know about our field. But even in our field, some of us make jokes when people have 10 or 20 certifications behind their name and go, okay, somebody's paying for it for you. But maybe that's not true. They might be a consultant like me, and you have to demonstrate skill levels in certain things. So that's what certifications do. They demonstrate a basic skill level, if you will, or knowledge base in a certain field. So this chart on the right of my slide, I don't know if you can see what my slide is, but it's a gentleman who is a CISO in a Phoenix company. And I took this off of his LinkedIn post, and I just did a cut and paste, and it shows how many certifications there are in our field. 20 years ago, not so much. And today he's showing 366 plus certifications across IT security categories. And he's saying it's great for interviewing potential candidates or planning out your career journey. But so you need to know that investing in certifications is an investment. It's an investment of your time, it's an investment in your career, and it's an investment out of your pocketbook. And some people go, oh, my company won't pay for me to have two. Well, you should be investing in yourself. I pay for everything for myself, and I have for many years. And of course, when I worked in Fortune 500, I got a lot of things paid for. It's easy to take that for granted and get to feeling entitled about it, but you own your career. So if your company pays for you to have certifications because they want you to have them, that's good. That's an opportunity, and that's a benefit for you with your employer. But you need to consider it an investment in your time and in the money, and it's an investment for your employer too, not just you. So what is your goal? Why do you want a certification? What are you going to use this certification for? What's the market demand for the certification that you want? Is there demand for it? What's the cost now and ongoing? I'm just going to go down and look at this CISSP, for instance. This requires a minimum of 3 to 5 years experience in the field for you to get it. It's considered a gold standard, if you will, and I'm not telling you to go out and get the CISSP. A lot of people have them. One could say the field's saturated in them, but people are still getting it. I dare say it's probably one of the certifications making money in the field for the body that has it, because it's so well known. That said, that costs close to, I don't know what it costs now. It costs close to $600 to get that certification, to take that exam today. Not any materials you might buy or think that you need to pay for. And then you've got to maintain this every year. I just paid my CISSP to ISC squared last week, and it was $125. That's how much I pay every year to maintain it. And I'm required to have 40 hours a year in continuing education in that field to maintain the CISSP. And if you don't maintain those 120 hours of continuing credit every 3 years, and if you don't pay your dues every year, then you're going to lose the certification. And if you want it again, you can go back and take the exam and get it again. Some people make fun of that they say it's a mile wide and an inch deep. Well, go ahead and try to take it then, for the people who haven't passed that certification, because that was a 6-hour exam when I took it, and it's not easy. So maybe it's easy for somebody that's been in the field a long time. I don't think it's easy today either. So that's just an example. The SSCP is also a certification below ISC squared, and it is more an entry-level certification. It requires a year, but it's still not an easy certification. The CISA certification is one of the highest demand certifications in audit. It used to be IT auditing, information systems auditing, certified information systems auditor. And that is somebody that took also a very difficult certification exam, and it requires experience, and it requires you to pass the exam, and it has a similar structure for pay and maintenance as the CISSP. It's a different organization. It's ISACA. The CCSK is a cloud security cert. It does not require experience. It is not an easy certification to pass at all. Some people go, oh, it's open book, it's easy. It might be easy if you are a product developer and you work with identity management on a system, or you are a security architect. It is not easy for the average person that works in security or in IT. So they're not easy, they're difficult, even if it is, quote, open book. Good luck you passing that as an open book exam. And there's a new certification for the Certificate of Cloud Auditing Knowledge. And that's a partnership between the Cloud Security Alliance and auditing the ISACA organization. So that is a brand new certification, brand new, and you will have to pass an exam. And it doesn't require experience, but it assumes a baseline of the CCSK for you to take that exam. It assumes that you have that level of knowledge. So what I want to tell you is I'm not a proponent for you to get these. I'm just telling you some of the ones that are key in the industry now. There's also privacy certification. So they're all investments again. You cannot get them all. You should look at these fields, including privacy, which intersects with security, and consider what you want before you decide what you're going to make the investment in. This thing over here that shows how many there are, Security Plus comes up a lot, where people go take the Security Plus, and it teaches you the basics of what that is too. It's, as Chris Ride said in another presentation he did for us a couple weeks ago, that he doesn't see that as a job demand, a Security Plus certification, very often, but it still can help you sell yourself more in the field, and it can help you learn more about the field. And it's not worthless by any means, and it's also not an easy certification if you're not familiar with the field. It's not an easy field for entry. So let's go on to the next one. So I just want to reiterate, when you decide that you want certifications, look at what your goal is and what you're trying to get out of it, what the demand is. If you want to invest in this financially and for yourself going forward, if it requires experience or not. And by the way, you can get vendor certifications that don't require experience, but you still got to learn them. And I'm of the understanding that Amazon is offering a lot of certifications now for no money for you right now. So there's training available that you can get, and there's way more training. There's always a lot of education that you can get without paying money, but it might take your time and you getting out there and looking for it. And I don't know, some of these investments are worth it anyway. So go look at what you want, what you're trying to get. Does it require experience or not? And there's a lot that don't, including vendor certifications. And then how does it support your goal? That's what you want to look at. So when somebody asks me which one they should get, I ask them these questions about what they're looking for. So let's go to the next slide on experience. You and experience and how you get experience. So what are your key skills? What key skills do you have? And you have some, even if you just went to school and then graduated without experience and are trying to get hired. And let me tell you, I don't advocate for that. Once again, you need experience. You need to get experience as soon as you can. So get interns, take the summer and get an internship. Take an 8-month, I don't know. When I hired interns, I didn't ever do them for the summer. I did them for 6 to 8 months only because it was too hard. And you could have interns do a lot of work for you without experience in areas that you had gaps in. So there are opportunities. But what are your key skills? And then create a summary of what you have to offer that someone else wants. And you do have it. So, and then correlate your skills to the need. What are your skills? What are the need? And how do they map? And then you're going to need some technical experience. So you're going to have to figure out how you're going to get this, because there's not very many security jobs that you're going to get hired for easily that don't require some technical competence. Now, you might come in and rewrite security policies or standards or skills matrices. I've given some examples in some other places on this that you can come in and gain experience, but they might not be things you're exactly thinking of. Pen testing, that might be, it's nothing I would want to go take on full time, but I guess some people love it. Soft skills, you are going to require good communication skills. In our field, we have a lot of introverts, maybe more than some other fields, but you are going to have to communicate and interact with people. And if you have strong communication skills, orally and in writing, you're going to be able to have influence over more people. You're going to get more things done. You know, even if you wrote progress reports or trip reports, the key takeaways or something like that, there's other ways that you can do this. Education, what is your education? You don't have to have a degree to get into this field, although some people, if they didn't have master's and bachelor's degrees in security when I went and got my CSSP or when I got any of my jobs in security, those are more recent, and recent being relative, of course. So you don't have to have education to get hired, but that's not what everybody thinks. Sometimes that's a block at the door for HR or managers who believe that you can't get a job without a degree in the field. And if so, they're limiting their hires by doing that. So you don't have to have an education. You probably are going to get farther if you do. So it can go either way, and it depends on who's hiring and who's looking and what they've put for the requirements versus optional in what their job requirements are. And then if the job's online, can you get through it? Ask people in the field and about places that you can engage. So this is some of the things on experience in the field, but in general, the bar of entry in security is not low. It is a hard field, but it doesn't mean it's not entry. Everything that you learn how to do is hard, and you had to learn how to do it somewhere. You need to showcase yourself. And when somebody tells me they can't get a job and they have a degree and they have this certification and that, then I go click on their LinkedIn profile. And if they don't have one, well, that could be a problem. Some people in our field don't have a LinkedIn profile. If you want to get hired, generally you need a LinkedIn profile. You're going to have some place to sell yourself, and that's supposed to be a professional place. It's not like Facebook, so you don't treat it like Facebook. You want to have a professional headshot. You need a standing bio because you need to have that in your summary, and you need to be able to sell yourself when you're telling people what you're looking for and why they should hire you. Here's what kind of job I want. Here's the main things about me that makes me hireable to somebody else. you have to showcase yourself. So you need to know how to put that in writing and have it come out of your mouth too. You need to have a resume, contrary to people thinking you don't need one. You do need a resume, and its purpose is to sell yourself, to get your foot in the door, nothing more and nothing less. It's not a historical document for you to chronicle your life. It's to sell you, to get you to talk to somebody about a job. Headshots are not selfies. They're not you with your spouse or your partner or girlfriend. They're a shot of you professionally. And that's what you want put up on these boards. Yeah, when I've looked at people that say they can't get a job, I can probably figure out pretty quickly without even communicating more than on a group where they're asking about why I can't get hired. And I go, look, I can usually see why they're not getting a job. So you might be able to do that for yourself too. So you can put yourself out there all you want, but it might impact whether or not you're going to get a job. If you're really, 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 really good and you're really, really well known, you might be able to get by with a little bit more out there than some other people, but you're showcasing yourself. So you need to have your profile represent yourself out there. What is the voice? What do you sound like? What do you look like? I don't mean, are we fat, skinny, black, yellow, purple? I mean, what is your appearance saying about you? And when you're out there anywhere, online or on the network, or when people meet you, and what is your voice saying about you also? What does social media say about you? That could be scary for some of us. And also, are you being seen? Write articles. If you want to learn about security, go look something up and write about it. Even if we work in security, this is a big, wide field. We don't ever know it all. It's hard. Teach something. If you went and got a certification, go teach it. I taught the CISM for ISACA locally in Phoenix twice a year free ever since it was done. And I just stopped doing it not very long ago because sometimes you have to move and do other new things that sometimes just take on. But you will learn so much more by teaching. You can teach a certification that you knew. You can speak and talk about something that you know that somebody else wants to know. So be seen and be heard. And for the women that are on here, you need to stand up and step out. I do speakers for events a lot, and we do not get enough women submitting to speak. If I want to round out the speakers for women, almost always, admittedly, there are far less women in this field than men. But the men submit to speak, and they don't ask you to write a book to tell them why. They stand up. So come and speak. We need more women to be speaking. Don't wait for somebody to come ask you, and don't make it difficult to work with you when somebody does ask you to speak. So get out there. You can write if you're not comfortable with speaking. Contribute to somebody's blog, contribute to, ISSA, for instance, has a journal. They accept, they're not going to take any writing. It's going to be filtered through a committee that reviews what content is, but write about what you know. And then ask yourself when you showcase yourself, how will other people see me? How will hiring managers see you? That's what you want to ask yourself. So let's move on past showcasing and learning and growing. This is another one of the pillars. Listen to webinars. They're free. I don't really care if they're boring. You can learn a lot. People look on YouTube too, but don't get caught up in stuff that's irrelevant. It's easy to lose focus. Read industry publications, newsletters, and books. Take courses. There's so many things out there for you to do for low or no cost. And if it's worth it for what you want to learn, pay for it if you can. If you can't, there's plenty of things. There's no excuse for not learning and growing. Getting certifications that matter. And again, I'm going to restate, to participate in industry groups. They have education that's free to members often, or not a large fee. They're like-minded professionals in groups offering very targeted education to their members and guests. And again, speak, write, teach. Start a user group. Start a study group if you want a certification and lead it, or join one. These are ways that you will learn too. And then I just want to put this in here for, I belong to ISSA, but I belong to other organizations too. I co-chair the Women in Security SIG for ISSA. Hence is why I'm putting this slide up. We have a monthly executive cybersecurity speaker series their webcasts. They, the next one is April 1st. And there's an excellent one from the last one we did where we had 2 people come on and talk about what it took to enter our field. You can listen to these after the fact. You do have to have an ID on Eventbrite to look at them. And you can search on this one I have up here, Cybersecurity Job Market Today and Going Forward. These gentlemen had a different perspective on it. It wasn't different than what a lot of us think, but they're 2 sides, and they're just excellent. So if you would go look for these kind of events that are free or low to no cost, you'll be shocked. And again, volunteer opportunities. This SIG and this group that we're on today, they need volunteers. So you can be that volunteer. You don't have to wait to be asked. Next steps. So where do you want to go in your next steps? Where are you and where do you want to go? That's what you need to ask yourself. Create your own security roadmap. I'm not going to, your own career roadmap. I'm not going to close my thing and show you, but I have a pictorial of what my career steps are, and personally and professionally, and I always have them on there. I had that CCSK on there for years longer than it should have taken me to get it. I have other things on there that I want to achieve. So I put them in pictures and I update them every year, and I generally update it more than once a year. I used to have it framed in my office, and I had it up in front of my monitor above my desk, and I would tape it in the back of my journal that I always carry with me to write anything in, and I have it on the wallpaper on my computer all the time, so it's in front of me all the time. It's PowerPoint. I cut and paste my pictures into PowerPoint, and then I save it as a JPEG and put it as my wallpaper, and I print it out and I put it in a frame. I don't have it on a frame now because right now I'm in a beach rental, so I don't have a place to hang those things up in rentals you don't own. So create your own career roadmap for where you want to go. Be flexible and be open as much as you can for what you want your next steps to be, because if you can't be flexible, you're going to limit yourself. If you need to limit yourself, great. And for parents of small children, that you drop out of the workplace, you will be held back and you will be hard for you to make that gap up, and you can make it up, but I advise you to go try to be part-time somewhere if you can. If you're a hiring manager on here, be more flexible with hiring these part-time people. People don't seem to want to hire part-time people, and if you work in a position where you're part-time, the expectation seems to be that you're really working full-time even though you're not being paid for full-time. So I would like the hiring community to step up more on this and offer more flexibility for people that have young kids, or for some reason or another, maybe they're a caretaker of an elderly adult that they can't work full time, that you don't have to work 8 to 5. So if your job really requires it, great. And if it doesn't, maybe you should look at opening up opportunities so some of the women that do have babies or young people at home can have more opportunities in the workplace. There are those opportunities, but there's not always people open-minded enough to open those opportunities and make them available. So I'm advising this to hiring managers on here. And if you're one of the people that are trying to do this in your own life, usually you can get it by asking someplace, but not everyone is amenable to it, especially your manager might not be amenable to it, but there may be opportunities, and usually you have to be a known in where you work to get that exception. But some of your colleagues will still complain about it like it's their business and they should worry about what you're doing, that you're not working enough, when really all of us should worry about ourselves and if we're working hard enough, and not be putting your nose in everybody else's business all the time. So there are opportunities for you to do that. So be flexible, be as open as you can, and look for opportunities. Showcase yourself the way you want to be seen out there. That's how other people are going to see you. So maybe you want to be yourself, but maybe you should hold some of yourself back if you want to get hired. Showcase yourself in the way you want to be seen. Identify the job that you want and what the skills and experience are that it requires. Join a group in the field, get engaged. And remember, I told you to go join a board. That is what I suggest. And I send people this advice all the time. For instance, if I am on this board for this organization putting this on today, maybe they need help with the social media, getting the word out. Maybe they need help interacting with their speakers. Maybe they need help on their website. There's all kind of places that we need. Maybe they need help writing their bylaws or updating them that they need. And you can make a difference in that. There's places for all of us to get engaged. So be active. There's different times in our career where we can participate more or less. Meet other professionals and see what they do. And again, people always ask you to be a mentor, and this group, I'm sure, supports mentoring and menteeing, but do your job. If you're the person coming and asking somebody to support that for you, it's not on the other person that you're asking to mentor you to do all the work. You are going to be expected to do some of the work. I went to a VP when I worked at Intel and asked that person to mentor me, and he had me go get my last 3 years of performance reviews, my last 2 years of what was the 360 feedback from the surveys required for you for your performance review, and he talked to my manager. So think about that. And also, I had to come with the agenda to every meeting. It wasn't up to him to create the agenda. It was up to me. So he set the table for what that meant. So meet other professionals, and then don't get caught up in the hype in this field. And next, oops, this kind of got stuck there in my little thing. So you can email me questions, and I'm going to go to the chat box right now. And if you email me questions, my email is at the bottom of these slides, and I'll put it in the chat box right now. You need to please include in the subject line Security 323 so that I know what it's referenced. If you're like me, everybody gets a lot of email, and this lets me filter it out so that I can do my good job of answering you. That said, not getting caught up in the hype. Well, okay, the certifications. People get caught up in the hype about certifications. It's pretty easy to hone in on what you need. Some more of the hype is, oh, I don't have any experience and I can't get hired. Nobody's going to hire me. This is bull. I mean, sometimes people counter me on the advice I give, but really, I've been in the field a long time, and I'm really well networked in the field, and there's a lot of people like me. And go out and look for what you want and focus in on what you want. I see people that want to be a full-time pen tester, and that's really great for you, but I never regard that as really a full-time career. But maybe it is these days because there's so much to do. So does that answer your question? A place for those boards to volunteer. Is there a place? Okay, this is what you do. I gave the names of some of those organizations, and you can ask other people that are in the field that you may know, and you can ask me too. But for instance, ISSA Phoenix, the Cloud Security Alliance chapter that I have here in the Southwest, the ISACA Phoenix chapter, they have them in different divisions. You can go to the website for these organizations. For instance, IAPP, I don't think that's the name of their website, the Privacy Association.org, and they'll have a place where they show for their chapters, and you click on it, or you just go. If you say Phoenix ISSA, it'll go to the chapter, and you go communicate with the president or the head of that chapter or somebody else in the chapter, and see if you maybe even know them, or even search for it on LinkedIn. But the best place is to go look for it on a search online. ISSA is www.issa.org, but there's others. OWASP, it's OWASP.org, by the way. ISACA is ISACA.org. And they'll have a link there for the chapters. Go look in your area and see if there is a chapter, and then go to the contact for that chapter and say you would like to volunteer, and is there a place they need help, or can you talk to somebody? That's essentially how you do it for any of these. And by the way, these events like we're doing today, they almost always have volunteers too. I don't know if they did have volunteers, but might I say the speakers are all volunteers, but they need help in a lot of places, even social media. If you're really good on social media, or maybe you want to go update LinkedIn, you want to put LinkedIn posts out for an event or something like that, or they have a Facebook group or a meetup group. There's other places that you can help that you do not have to be technical, and you're going to meet people in those groups that you would never ever meet otherwise. Okay, well, that's all from me, and you will get a little bit of your time back. Thank you very much, everyone.